You are listening to Inspiring Tribe Talks with Kalpita and Vidya. For latest updates, follow us on Instagram at inspiringtribe.talks.
Makeup is something we all use at some point of time. While some use it to enhance their beauty, others use it as an art form. Simran Mathura started her career in the makeup industry in 2015 when she was just at the tender age of 17. Today, she speaks to us about her passion for makeup, as well as gives us insight into the makeup being used as a transformational tool and a creative tool. Welcome, Simran.
Thank you so much. It is so good to be here.
And we're so happy to have you, and we're very, very excited to speak to some young blood and somebody who's in the industry and I believe is not superficial. I feel like your makeup style and the way you use makeup is more of an art form than just to feel or look pretty. But at the same time, it has so much to do with inner beauty and confidence, which you do use it as a transformational tool. So for you, how has this journey into makeup come about being, and where did it begin for you?
So I actually started playing around with makeup in 2015, which was my matric year in school. Before then, I was, and I still am, an absolute tomboy. I never went for skirts. I never went for dresses. I was like jeans and track pants. I grew up being very close to my brother, so I always had that relationship. You know, we'd watch sports and wrestling and stuff like that. So I was never really into makeup until I started going through my teenage years, and I had a lot of acne, and I had a lot of marks and scars and whatever it was. And I felt a need like to hide it or disguise it in some way. And I woke up one morning, and for school, I decided, let's see what a little bit of powder does. And my mom walked into the bathroom and she saw me playing around with some powder, and she says, listen, you know, you can try this and this and this. So that morning, my mom kind of showed me a few techniques to just disguise some acne that I was really insecure about. From there, I decided, okay, well, I was so confident that day. It was insane. My ego went through the roof. I was like, yes, I'm feeling fresh. I'm fly. This is what I look like now. I was excited. From there, she kind of like held my hand and walked me through it a little bit. And she introduced me to things like eyeliner. Like I knew what it was. I just didn't know what it could be used for in the different ways, in the ways that you could actually accentuate certain parts of your face or whatever the case was. So it ended up being around Halloween, and I love Halloween. It's one of my favorite times of year. I realized, oh my gosh, makeup is like the best tool to use to do costumes and dress up and, you know, just get really in the theme of things. And that's when I started to play around with things like special effects. And I was like, oh, this is new game. Like, I'm ready for this. And obviously in every girl's life, they have their matric dance. Mm-hmm. I had friends that were going to get their makeup done. I had friends that were going to get their nails done and things like that. And obviously those things were never really like interested me. So for my matric dance, my mom did my makeup and it looked incredible. And I got my nails done. I went with like a full hand of mehndi. I wore this gorgeous like anarkali that my mom got. And I was feeling myself so well that day. I was ready to conquer the world. And I was thinking, all this happened because of a little bit of foundation and a little bit of eyeliner. And I was ready. And then in my first year of university, I needed a job because I like to spend money. And at this point, I was an adult. And my parents were like, now you learn responsibility. So for me to get a job, I was on leave for 3 months between my first year and second year. And I'd finished strong and I was staying at home that holiday. I realized this is boring. I want to get out there, get some work experience. I went to a store in Sandton City. I went and I gave my CV to the manager. Absolutely no makeup experience at this point, but I did my makeup that day. And I went and I gave him my CV. And he looked at me, didn't even look at my CV. And he looked at me, he says, what inspired your look today? And I was like, I didn't think this far ahead. But I heard my mom watch a YouTube video where they were speaking about how the reds and the burgundies, and that was like the color palette that year. So I went with that. I was like, this YouTuber said this about those colors, and this is what's taking the season by storm, and it's inspired by this popular palette. And he was like, wow, okay, when can you do an interview? And the interview had two aspects. It was one that what inspires you, what's your favorite product, what looks do you often go for? And the second aspect of it was a practical, where you had to bring in a model and do the makeup. And my model was my mom, a face I have worked on like that whole year. Whenever she does film or television or photo shoots or even auditions, and she has to go like to look the part, I would play around with it. Did her makeup, and I got a call 2 days later and saying I got a job as a festive employee. So I worked for 3 months, then my contract ends. So I started working. It was the best time of my life. You meet new people, you are helping people learn new things about this art form. And it was there that I realized that I wasn't the only girl that had insecurities about her skin. I wasn't the only girl that tried to cover up something. Everyone who walked into store had a different story and a different reason for being there. At that point, it was a day when this woman who was beautiful, she looked like she could walk on New York Fashion Week runway. She was gorgeous. And she came and she sat down and she said, I'm looking for a foundation because I don't like the way my skin looks. And we sat and we spoke for a while, and I got her a foundation, like put it on for her, made her look at it in natural lighting, all these different lightings. And she started to cry. And I'm thinking, why would such a beautiful woman want to sit here and cry and cover up some of the most gorgeous parts of her face? And she says it's been some of her biggest insecurities for so long. And now that it's covered up, she just feels more confident. And that's when I kind of realized, wow, this is not just about painting on a face, or it's not just about just like changing the way you look. It is genuinely giving somebody confidence, be it a man, be it a woman, be it a child. It is just about giving somebody that confidence to walk out there and say, this is me, this is how I'm comfortable, and this is what I want the world to see. Doesn't change who you are as a person, doesn't change your likes and dislikes, doesn't change the way you think about the world. In fact, I think it enhances it. I think that if you take that opportunity to learn about somebody and learn about why they're doing what they're doing, especially when it comes to makeup, not just as an art form, but as a solution that so many people see to give them that confidence to walk out of there with their head held high. It's like dressing for your body type. It puts you in another league of your own. Like then that's when you can just own the world. And that's when I realized this is something that I want to do for the rest of my life. This is the way I want to make someone feel every single time they get out of my chair.
And that is so, so powerful, because you've now taken something which is used to enhance your outer beauty, and you've used it to help people go within and find that confidence, feel good about themselves. And really, it boils down to that, because when you have that amount of self-love for yourself, when you start seeing yourself in a new light, you're able to go out there and take on the world, or do what needs to be done, but just with a little bit more of sparkle, or a little bit more of a bounce in your step kind of thing, which is so great. So you said you worked very closely with your mom, and I think a mother and daughter's bond is so special and so different. And your mom didn't shun you away from makeup. She in fact took you towards it. She's seen you were interested, which is great. But for girls out there who feel like makeup is something that they have to constantly have to only cover up a flaw, what would you say to them about body positivity and self-love in terms of who they are and their own journey?
So the funny thing is, my mom and I, we've always been close. She's always been my best friend. And I'm not just saying that, like, she genuinely has been my best friend for so long. When it comes to body positivity, it's something that I personally have always struggled with. So it started in grade 1 when I was 6 years old, and my mom comes to school. It was our little lunch break, and she sees that I'm sitting alone, and like the whole class is playing. And she came and she sat next to me. She was dropping something off for my brother, and she sat next to me and she asked me, why are you sitting alone? So I said, no, I just wanted to sit and eat my lunch and have my time. So she was like, okay. And she went and she spoke to my teacher. And she asked the teacher, what's going on? Why is Simran sitting alone? How often does this happen? And the teacher told my mom that she sits alone every day at lunch because no one wants to be her friend because she's fat.
Oh my God.
So it started from when I was 6 years old, and I was not this size 2, no one wants to be friends with the fat girl kind of thing. And at that point, my mom ended up, the universe has a funny way, and my mom ended up getting a teaching job at the school I was at. And she started coming and sitting with me during lunch every day. And we'd sit together, and then my mom became that teacher in school that was fun. Like, she would have pajama Fridays, she would have like no spelling tests, but she would just have this way about her. Like, my mom's lovable. She's an absolutely amazing human being. So I became the daughter of the fun teacher. Like, let's be friends with her because her mom is so amazing. So from then I was kind of just like, okay, so when you get to know me, I'm great. But like at first glance, I'm not okay. So obviously I've had a very strong family support system when it comes to my family saying, you get your dad, that's like, you're beautiful. Someone's going to be lucky to have you one day. This is who you are. It's perfect. You're my princess. You get your mom. That's like, you're the most beautiful thing in the world. And I started playing with makeup. Everyone has insecurities. That's when I use makeup to cover up my ones. When it comes to needing it, I realized very quickly that the right people that I surrounded myself with didn't care whether I was wearing foundation or not. They didn't care if I had acne or not. The people that are meant to be in your life are going to find themselves there. And you're going to find bullies, you're going to find cyberbullies, you're going to find people who tell you that makeup is just a way of disguising your problems. Again, I've heard them all, I get them all. But at the end of the day, see makeup as a way where, it's an insecurity for now, but the thing is, acne goes away. You can lose weight. You can't change the kind of person you are inside. And at the end of the day, like cliche as it's going to sound, people that want to be in your life, people who see the beauty and what you have to offer to the world are going to stick with you because they know what kind of person you are and they know what value you add. And whether I wear eyeliner that day or not isn't going to change the way I speak to people. Whether I wear a red lipstick or a blue lipstick isn't going to change the way I interact with people or how I treat people. And at the end of the day, you can drop your foundation on the floor and not have foundation for another week. And it's going to change the kind of person you are. Yeah, you're going to be upset because of a 500 rand bottle of foundation, but it's not going to change who you are as a person. So if you are relying like you need to have it on to make people like you or to be a better person, no. I'm not going to say it's wrong because it's not wrong to feel that you need something to give you a boost of confidence, but it's not to feel that you need something to make you a better person because it's topical. You can wipe it off and wash it off at the end of the day. It's not going to change who you are as a human being. And I think that it's at that point where you need to sit down with yourself and have an honest conversation with yourself about what the kind of person you want in your life, who you want in your life, who your friends are, who your family is. Like for me, if your mom says, put more foundation to cover that up, it'll make you look prettier, then I think just take a step back and be like, but you know what? I like this foundation the way it is. I don't care what people think. And I think in our society, it's a very strong thing of what are they going to say? People call it an Indian culture. I think it happens in every culture of what are the older generation going to think? What kind of example are you setting for the younger generation? But I think we really need to stop promoting the thought of what other people are going to say, because at the end of the day, those people don't pay your bills.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, when someone turns around and calls you fat, look at them and say, okay, when did you pay for my groceries? It's a long journey to self-love. And you know what? It probably never ends. But at the end of the day, I think if you're happy and you're healthy when you look in the mirror, that's the biggest goal. Whether you have makeup on or not, it's not a mask that's going to disguise who you are as a person. It's just there to cover up a pimple. And chances are that if you are playing around with this form of art, you have a lot to offer the world in terms of your artwork. So it's just about finding another canvas to express that with, and feeling the need to like just let yourself be loved by yourself, because no one else is going to be there for you like you will be there for you.
Exactly. It's at night when you go to sleep, it's yourself, and that's it. There's
Yes.
nobody else. And what the world thinks, I think, is really, I agree that we need to let go of this. And it begins in our generation, because I feel
Mm-hmm.
what the past generations have done is not something we can change. It's done and it's over. But going
Yeah.
forward, we can look for ways to change these conditionings that are in society, whether it's in any culture across the board. So
Mm.
that is really, really important that we do that now. And we have the tools and the means to. But also, you said something which was so important again, is that it's not about just looking good, it's about being healthy. And for
Yeah.
me personally, I find that I've had a thyroid problem, I've got weight gain and weight loss issues, but
Mm.
I would prefer being a bit more overweight and healthier internally than
Yeah.
being having a perfect body and I have chronic conditions. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying that's true for everybody, but the reality is we've got to start differentiating between being just externally beautiful and being healthy, and which one we value more. You say that you work with a lot of people, and with makeup, it's almost like you've been given a canvas when you have a client, and you can then obviously go and do whatever you want with that client. But I've seen some of your
Yeah.
work where you've literally aged your dad, and you've made your mom look extremely beautiful as well. Your mom is so beautiful, and I think she's the one person that makeup really just enhances her beauty. But when
Yeah,
it comes
she
to
is insanely gorgeous.
when it comes to your dad, what is some of the most memorable moments you have of doing his makeup? Because I feel you do a lot more character makeup for him.
Yeah, I do. I do get that opportunity. So when it comes to working with that man is a blast. He's such a personality. Like what people don't realize is how he was on radio with his jokes and his like wit is exactly how he is in the house. It is exactly the same. You can walk in and have like the worst day possible and he will make you laugh in like 2 seconds. So being on set with him for an ad campaign or for a photo shoot is just, it's game changing because your work environment is very, it impacts the way you work. It's very, very important. So to work with people who understand the craft and want to know more about makeup and not just about why you use it, but you know what it does and what it changes. And the thing with my dad is he's up for anything, absolutely anything. So at this point, I could literally pull him aside when he's watching TV and say, "This is the look I want to do for you. This is what I want to practice. Can I use your face?" And he'll say, "Cool, just give me 2 minutes and I'll meet you in your room," or whatever the case is. So it is so great. And the thing is, when I was growing up, he was working 24/7. He worked himself to the bone. You know, he and my mom were always going out there and like working their hardest and their best life because they obviously wanted to provide for us, and as I'm sure every parent does. So I never really got to see him much because he was working so much. And then obviously his heart surgery thing happened, and that was a wake up call for him to take it easy. And since then, I think like that was the point where we all realized like you can't replace family. You know, you can't replace those moments together. So if this is what I'm interested in, this is what he makes sure he inserts himself into. Like if I'm sitting doing a look on myself, doing a look on my mom, he'll walk in with coffee or tea or whatever the case is, and he'll say, "So tell me what you're doing and why." So because it's a big part of my life, he makes sure that he involves himself in it. And we get on like a house on fire. It's insane. So he gets very interested when it comes to special effects because he loves special effects. He loves like things from horror films and blood and gore and all that kind of stuff. So when I do things like age his skin or turn him into a woman or do like, you know, this cross-culture look for Africa Day, for example, it's insane. Like he just loves being able to watch the process of the transformation happen. And then also on set, we were recently working on a project and the makeup department, head of the makeup department for that project. And he was also on set. And he literally just stands there and watches. And when we're driving home, he'll like ask me, why did you do this? Or, it's so interesting that this is the effect it has, or he wants to know more about it. And I think that as a parent, for both my parents, I could really not ask for a stronger support system. My brother's the exact same. My brother will ask me about like foundation shades and color palettes. And it's amazing to me that I have such a strong support system. Like these are guys that will sit and watch cricket and soccer for hours. And they never before cared about eyeshadows and glitter and eyeliner and what the difference is between gel and liquid and whatever the case is. And yet now, when we go shopping, they'll stop outside a makeup store and be like, do you want to go inside? Or what are you looking for and why? So working with my dad and bringing him into that process is just, it's a chance that a lot of people have. And it's a chance I definitely have not taken for granted. And it's brought us so much closer. He's one of the most important people to me. It's memories that I know that when the time comes and I'm on my own and, I'm living life out there, it's literally something I can look back on and be so, so grateful for, because not everyone is afforded those opportunities. And not every parent puts in that effort, hey? Really, like I'm blessed. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, and I think these memories are what, exactly like you say, they will carry you going forward. So these memories are extremely important to make and to have. And at the same time, it's kind of family time. It's quality time, but at the same time, you're doing what you love. So it just works out.
Yeah, and I think the fact that you have both your parents, you've got that encouragement also.
Yeah, definitely.
And your dad doesn't see makeup as something that ladies do, or I should
No, definitely not.
Simran, on a lighter note, can you share with us some of your favorite memories in your career? Also considering, as you've mentioned, that you've worked on TV and film sets, I'm sure you've had some fun memories along the way.
I really have. It's quite amazing to me that I'm only 22 at this point, and I have had such wonderful experiences in my career so far. One of the nicest ones that I can think of right now is just a photo shoot we did when my dad did a tour, a national comedy tour with Jack Devnarayan. They did Harry and the Gupta. They took that to stage in theatre. And it was a photo shoot that they actually did for the posters and for advertising. And so I was just doing like light touch-up makeup, photo makeup, and having those two in the room is just, it's a cracker. It is insane. So it's actually the people that make my experiences amazing. And then when I worked with my mom and my dad lately on the comedy show I did a photo shoot with them. So I did my mom's makeup, I did dad touch-ups, and it's a different dynamic watching them get into the headspace of being these characters on camera, even if it's for a photo. He did photos as Uncle Bala, he did photos as Harry Mama, he did photos as Dahlia. So doing Dahlia's makeup has always been interesting to me because it's proper like packing on woman's makeup on his face. And it's the best experience watching him go through that. And then there's also been times where I've assisted adverts that my mom has been filming, and that's when you see full swing, like what a full-scale production looks like. And from there was when you meet other actors, you meet people from wardrobe and sound. And it's really opened my eyes up to an industry that's much larger than makeup when it comes to the entertainment industry. I recently worked on a film in December where I did some special effects and then just basic makeup for background cast and then even part of hair, part of the hair department. And that is just next level gaming kind of stuff. That is like you on a time crunch. You have 5 minutes to do somebody's face that would take you usually 25 minutes. You got to get that full finished product out there. They're filming in like ultra HD, so they're picking up on every single thing. And it really makes you appreciate the behind the scenes of a lot of things. Like it's not just about what you see on big screen, on the small screen, on a photograph. It's understanding that there's so much more to it than just looking at an actor and hitting record. There is so many people that deserve incredible acknowledgement, everything from like the sound guy to art department. There's a guy that walks around with a vest that is literally just covered in different kinds of tape. And that's the art guy, just in case anything needs to be stuck down. I never even knew that was a job.
I didn't know that too.
Yeah, so it's insane to think that like it's such a broad industry, and people give actors credit, which obviously they deserve because it's another game on its own. But it's the behind the scenes. It's not just the director and the director of photography. It's everything from the continuity person who has to remember like exactly where that cup was, to there's someone that just purely takes photos for the art department in case you have to refilm that scene and they have to crumple paper the exact same way. It is so in depth. And then my favorite of all my projects so far has been one that I did this year. It hasn't aired yet, so unfortunately I can't speak too much about it, but I was makeup department for it, and it was for such a good cause. And it, as much as it was just makeup, it makes you like, it really opened my eyes to whatever this cause was about. And it made me come back when I got home, and I literally researched the whole campaign that it was for. And it makes you sit back and think, I'm in my bubble at home, I'm in my bubble at work, but there are so many things going on in the world that deserve attention and deserve press and deserve public awareness. And measly little me, who was in the makeup department, found out about this cause and this campaign, and I've never wanted to be an advocate for something more. So once the campaign is on social media platforms, it's definitely something I want to bring awareness to. And it really has made my interests a lot broader in the sense of career, in the sense of social platforms, of social problems and awareness. And I think that, starting out doing makeup, people think, okay, they're in their makeup room, they put foundation, and that's where it ends. And it's incredible to me how it doesn't end there. It goes to set, it goes to post-production, it goes to all these different things. And you think, not only was that actor confident enough to feel and get into character, but when you watch it back, when you watch things on the big screen, when you watch things on the silver screen, or even you see a video on social media that you were a part of, you think, oh my gosh, I played a small part in bringing this story or this social message to life. And I think that has been the best part of my career. My best memory so far has been turning my dad into Dolia Mosi for a photo shoot. But it's actually incredible to me how much we actually learn behind the scenes.
Yeah, I think so often we're so used to just seeing the outcome or the product of what goes in, that we don't realize how much work it is. And it is a profession at the end of the day, just like any other profession. It's just we've been thinking, or we've sort of moved now into an era where people are more open about it. So, Simran, also speaking that you've now 22, you've got great amount of experience, you've met a lot of people. What are some of the core values that you've used to help you overcome challenges, whether it was anything in your personal life or professional life?
Lately, oddly enough, my mom and I have been speaking about this quite often lately. I think I've really learned to stop caring about people's opinions. And as rude as that sounds, I feel like people close to me, my friends, certain family members, are so driven by public perception. And they are so driven by what people are saying on social media about them, what like their family's going to say. And it brings me back to obviously the conversation we had earlier. My thing is, if you don't pay my bills, you don't get to have an opinion. And I actually got that thinking from my mom, because there was a gentleman that ran into my mom at the mall, and he looked at my mom and he says to my mom, "Wow, hey, you've gained weight." And I was thinking, what an a-hole. How can you say that to my mom? Like, what is wrong with you? And my mom turned around and looked at him dead in the eye. Now, the thing is, people don't realize my mom is sassy. My mom looks him dead in the eye and she says, "Aren't you glad you don't pay my grocery bills then?" And he's like, no, he laughed it off. And he's like, yeah, like since 1995. I was like, whoa, you last saw her in 1990. She's had 2 kids since then. She's had like stress. She has moved on with her life. She has had other jobs. she is still one of the most relevant people in our community. And the first thing you can say to her is, oh, you've gained weight. Who are you, sir? Who are you? Like, what value does your opinion add? And I realized that people, if they admire something about you, they love to, but if they have something to criticize about you, oh, they become vocal. And as important as, you know, certain opinions are, like for me, my mom, my dad, and my brother, their opinions matter. Their opinions matter. It's my family, and I know it's coming from a place of love. So I understand that everyone's different. I do get that, and I think it's just my core value is if they have something negative to say and they can't call you up about it, enough to have a problem with you. If they have an opinion about your life and they are not someone that immediately impacts your life, then they don't get to have an opinion. It's simple as, you know, people still criticize Angelina Jolie. People criticize Aishwarya Rai every day, some of the most beautiful women in the world. People criticize like every single human being out there. So I've learned to really not take what people say to heart. And I realized that after I realized people's opinions used to be very important to me. Like the way my classmates used to see me was very important to me. I went through a phase where in grade 11, I was not eating because I wanted to lose weight. I was over-exercising myself because I wanted to shed weight, and I looked good. I lost all that weight. And then time came for me to start eating like a normal human being again, and I gained all of it back. And at that point, I was like, why was I doing this in the first place? I starved myself for no reason because the friends that I had were still my friends. The people that criticize me still criticize me. If you're not too fat, you're too thin. If you're not wearing enough makeup, then you're wearing too much. So I think it's at the end of the day, you know, I've learned some very hard lessons. One of them being that mom is always right. Another thing is to just look at the bright side of things. You know, it's pointless sitting back and being upset about something that happened a long time ago or even happened yesterday. It's out of our control. It's rather fix it if you can or move past it if you can't. It's like harping on a situation. It only hurts you. So I think life is short. I have had friends that have passed away recently who were 22, 23, not just COVID, from kidney problems, from stress, from this. And I think at 22, if we're passing away from stress, we all need to just really take a step back and reevaluate the situation. Because what stresses should you have at 22?
That is something when things like, I think death is one thing that really puts things into perspective for us. And it's just so much more impactful when it's somebody close to you, like a friend or family member. It really, you know, forces you to look at life through a different lens. And it's very important. It really does. Life's always going to throw us challenges, right? It's never going to be hunky-dory and smooth sailing. So that's really something we need to consider is what do we value? Is it the opinions of others or those who contribute to our growth in a positive way? That's what we really need looking at and questioning.
And I think at the end of the day, we are our own biggest supporter. Like at the end of the day, if you're not supporting yourself and you're not believing in what you're doing, then who are you really doing it for?
Yeah, and I think that it's so strong of you at this age to understand all of this, as many people struggle with taking in so much of other people's opinions most of their life, and they actually go on living according to that. And
I agree. Thank you for that. I think I grew up having a little bit more of a spotlight on me, considering who my parents, other friends did. And it ended, like I see what comments on social media do to people. And, you know, my brother and I get it tenfold. My mom and dad get it 100-fold. So I grew up in a household where my parents raised me to be a strong, independent person and think for myself. And my mom and dad never conformed to society's norms. They ran away, got married. There's an age difference between them. They have never put any of their good deeds online. And yet when they want to be proud of something, they get called out for not doing enough charity. So I remember when my brother got his first car, he posted a photo of it on Facebook. And some guy that I've never met, that we don't know, posted, oh, how can you drive such a fancy car? And there are people, you know, maybe you should have used that money to go and give charity. And I was thinking, okay, but you're not our tax guy. You're not our accountant. You don't know what we do. Just because we don't post it on social media doesn't mean it's not getting done. Everyone in my family has causes that we're passionate about. We all do a lot of work ourselves, but just because it's not on Facebook or on Twitter or on whatever it is, doesn't mean it's not getting done. Because you see, the world, our society is funny in a sense where if you post about a good deed, you get scrutinized for it. If you don't post about a good deed, it didn't happen. So at the end of the day, it's a thing of live for yourself. If live to make your parents proud, live to make yourself proud. And these trolls on social media are not going to pay your bills. It's about being dedicated into doing what you love and understanding that the people that have these negative perceptions of you, if you're a good person and it comes from a good place, then keep doing you and you really like what you're doing and you have a passion for it. Then do it. Like, you're not hurting anybody.
Speaking of passions, what do you think is a cause that you're very passionate about in terms of, I know you said you can't speak about the campaign, so we won't ask you about that. That will reveal itself at a later stage. But what are some of the causes close to your heart that you have been involved in till now that you're very passionate about and you can speak about?
So through my career, not many charitable causes that I've worked on set with for campaigns. But through my personal life, there have been quite a few. I grew up it got to a point where my parents we were doing quite well. And we celebrate Christmas every year. And my mom and dad took me and my brother to one of these like big cash and carry warehouses. And they said, just get any toy you ever wanted, put it in the car. And it was like a field day. I was going off my head. Anything that was stuffed or could speak or played music, it was in the toy. I was like, yes, let's go. And we went, paid for it. We took it to one of these little stands that you donate to wrap gifts and things like that during Christmas. And my mom said, right, you guys chose a whole bunch of things. You pick one each. So we were very confused. And I chose like this little teddy bear. My brother chose a car. We were young at this time. And my mom said, right, the rest of these things are going to a kids' charity. And 2 days later, we met up with these children who were living in an orphanage. And my mom's whole thing is, as great as this initiative is of, picking a name from a tree and buying that kid a gift, there's always there's always a kid whose name gets left behind. And that's a horrible feeling. So what my mom did was all those gifts we bought, my parents went and we donated it to this orphanage that was running this toy collection drive. There were like 40 kids that they understand Christmas is about gifts, but they never really got any. And they go out on like field trips and they see these kids with families, and we take a lot of what we have for granted. And so that was when my parents decided, okay, we're taking these kids out for lunch. So we took them to a restaurant, got them food, got them everything. And, my dad paid the bill. And I remember that woman coming to my mom and she was crying. And her thing is, no one understands what it was. And the thing is, my parents, they're not orphans. They don't understand either. But the thing is, they know what it's like to have kids. And we as kids know what it's like to have parents. And we know that without my mom and dad, oh my gosh, our life is a fiasco. Your parents are your everything. And so my dad said, it's just about giving them a memorable experience. And what I respect about my parents is it didn't end there. They continued a lot of work with that orphanage for a long time. My parents were the kind of people to walk into schools and ask the principal, walk into an underprivileged school and ask the principal, how many people are behind on their school fees? And he would say, it's these students and this is how much they owe and whatever. And my dad's like, right, I'll pay it now. Because if you have, which we did at the time, he wanted to give back because we started out struggling, They worked hard enough for us to not have to experience that anymore. And then a cause very, very close to my heart is animals. I am obsessed with all things animals. So anything like SPCA or any shelters or anything like that, we do what we can to give back. we do what we can. And it's not just about monetary donations, it's about us. We'll take a weekend and we'll go there and we'll spend a weekend playing with the dogs or bathing the dogs or taking them to for walks or, even feeding birds. It's just simple things like that. I know a cause that's close to a lot of our hearts, anything to do with women shelters and children shelters abuse. And, there's only so much you can do. And at the end of the day, for these kinds of people, all they want is for someone to listen to them. And we have met women from old age homes whose kids haven't visited them in 5 years because they're busy with their own families. And, it gets lonely. It gets really lonely. So it's about taking that time and going and sitting down with someone, listening to their story and having that relationship. And I was lucky enough when I worked in retail that every Wednesday, there was an old age home that would drop a whole lot of these people off at the mall for them to go and pay their accounts or shop or whatever it is. And so we always had this flood of these old women who just wanted to get their makeup done and, feel really beautiful that day. And I met this woman who said that her husband used to do her makeup for her every day because she had arthritis. And every morning he used to get up early and do her makeup for her so she could feel so good that day. And he had passed away 2 years before. And so she had no one to do her makeup anymore. And she didn't know how because her husband used to do it. So I used to see her every Wednesday for what felt like 6-7 months maybe. And every Wednesday we'd have a new lesson. So at first it'll be about foundation, and then it'll be about eyes, and then it'll be about lipstick, and then it'll be about powders or whatever the case is. And after every single session I had with her, she would cry and she'll say, it's just about someone paying attention. Yeah. She didn't buy anything. She didn't give me money. She didn't contribute to commission. She didn't contribute to sales. It was just about someone taking that time to sit and listen. And that's why I'm a strong believer in you don't have to have money to be able to give back. You just need to take some time. That's all. So for me personally, animals, old age homes, women's shelters, those are my top 3 charitable organizations. And then obviously this new campaign that I will be very vocal about on my social media campaigns lately.
So you've spoken to us about things that you are passionate about in charity work, but besides charity, in terms of your career, what are you looking forward to? What are some of your future plans that you're really excited about?
For me, I'm currently studying a skincare degree. So from makeup, I actually grew a passion for product development and understanding the science behind what's made and why. So from here, ideally, I finish my 3-year course next year. I'm going to do an assessor's course as well. So I become a qualified teacher for the skincare diploma. And then from there, I want to take a course in chemistry and product development. And then hopefully be able to travel with it. Travel has always been a big passion of mine. With my current degree, not just my business degree, but my skincare degree as well, I can get on a ship and just travel from there. So obviously with COVID-19 going on, no one knows exactly what the future holds, but it's open to anything. I would love to have a job that allows me to travel anywhere, preferably Canada. That's my goal for where I want to live. But I would love to go into product development and understanding what gets made, to ensure that it's safe, and then obviously from there I'll have control on animal tested products, on vegan products, on products that can actually help the skin instead of just disguising a problem. So that is my goal for my personal career.
Simran, you're a very positive woman and you're so inspiring. Could you maybe give us a message to young girls who are maybe also looking to go into the makeup field, or just a general message for younger girls?
My message to younger girls, young women, would be whatever your passion is, whether it's makeup, whether it's art, whether it's science, whatever it is, always understand that, you got to follow it. You got to be happy in life. It's about following through on those decisions, never looking back and regretting things. I understand that, support system is a very big thing. It's about understanding what you want from your life. It's something that actually people don't understand until they may be 80, 90. But never ever look back and regret not doing something, and understand that it's going to take hard work. You got to push yourself. You got to really, really just want something. And you'll realize that when you want it, when you have a drive for it, when you have a passion for it, it'll come to you a lot easier because you're ready to work harder for it. And it doesn't even feel like work at the end of the day. It really doesn't. So I think it's about having the confidence to follow through on it. And you know what? If you feel like there's no path to get where you want to be, make your own. You gotta. A lot of people these days are self-made. Not everyone is afforded the same privilege, and it's about being dedicated to what you want to do and having the strength to follow through on it and the passion to follow through on it. And that's important. And if you can't see it be a full-time thing, then make it a part-time thing for now and grow from there. So understand that you got to do it for you. It's your life. You got to go for it, because if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But rather it not work out, then you look back and say, but what if it did? And what if I tried? Because oddly enough, it's those are some of the best memories, and it can turn into something great. It really, really can. And it's going to teach you a lot of life lessons. So follow through on it, be it makeup, be it science, be it, being a pilot, go through with it. You do not want to end up being 75 and having any kind of regrets whatsoever. So just go after what you want. Don't care what anybody says or thinks. Work hard for it. And I promise you, what's meant to happen will happen. And it does get better. It does get better. It does pay off. And if you love yourself and believe in yourself, it always works out well in the end.
Combining your passion and always being persistent will always get you far. And can you maybe share with our listeners your contact details and where can they find you, your social media links?
Sure. So on Facebook, you can find me at just Simran Mathura, my name. You can email me at simran.m1 at gmail.com. You can find me on Instagram at simran.mathura. And then on Twitter at simi_m. But I'm not going to lie, I don't use Twitter that much. Unless you want to send me like funny tweets, then by all means. And yeah. Those are my main social media platforms.
Thank you so much for coming onto the talk show today, Simran. We had a great time chatting with you, and you are wise beyond your years.
Thank you guys so much for having me on today. It was so incredible. It was such an amazing experience. It was so great to sit and speak to you guys. And I absolutely love the whole concept of your podcast. It is amazing. It really does drive me to be better, to do better. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you for listening to Inspiring Tribe Talks. Remember to favorite us on Anchor, as well as to give us a like and subscribe on YouTube. Last but not least, if you would like to collaborate with us or you have any inquiries regarding the podcast, you may email us at contactkpv108@gmail.com.